first two parts of Batman and the Night of the Monster Men. So that's Batman issue 7, written by Steve Orlando and Tom King, with art by Riley Rosmo. And Nightwing issue 5, co-written with Steve Orlando and Tim Seeley, and art by Rogue Antonio. Is it Rogue or is it Roge?
I would say Roge. It sounds like it's Brazilian, so
yeah, it
Portuguese has some weird rules.
But I'm introducing them as a pair because it's hard to separate them. And
they're not a Batman and Nightwing book. They're a Monsterman book. Like, this could have easily been a mini, and parts 1 and 2. So
I do feel like there was a little bit of extra focus in the individual books. Like, Nightwing book did have a bit more focus on Nightwing, but not enough that it could have easily been a mini.
Yeah. I mean, I like both of these issues. First off the bat, I think it's got that really fun sort of like, it's a storm in Gotham, like the rain's pouring down, and they're already dealing with the fact that it's going to flood. Like, they're already worrying about that, and they're already like concerned with. So Batman, Nightwing, and Batwoman are already like, right, we need to start evacuating certain places because they're going to get flooded, and and that's obviously then the monster comes out and they hear the I shall call it the water ripple sounds from Jurassic Park almost. Yeah. Now I actually like the art in both issues, right?
Yeah.
Though I do wish, though, my only complaint about the art as a pair is that I wish the colouring was more consistent between them.
Yeah.
It's a lot more muted in Batman.
It is. That was the only thing that bothered me. Because I get that there has to be different artists, right? And I don't mind the styles changing a bit. But the fact that the colours were suddenly more vivid was a little bit
It feels like
distracting.
It feels like it'll be a little bit jarring in trade.
Yeah.
Well, even reading them just now, because I read them back to back, because...
Yes. I get it. I mean, maybe it's because obviously this Nightwing chapter does focus a bit more on Nightwing, and it's meant to be like, he's a bit of a brighter character, so, a bit of brighter colour palette.
I guess.
But
they're they're dealing with the same instinct.
But for the sake of the story consistency, I think I'd rather them have kind of split the difference a bit.
Yeah. That said, though, that would probably be my only real complaint. It's funny, actually, because the art in Batman, at first, I wasn't sure how much I liked it. Like, the faces were a little bit weird, but then, as I got a few pages in, I got sort of, like, in tune with the style. So sometimes that happens where it's like, this is a bit more stylized to a certain way.
It's very jarring when you're used to the Finch art in Batman.
Yeah.
And then you get to this, and it's like, whoa. And also the art on the monsters reminded me of the artist on Animal Man. Is it Travel Foreman?
Yeah.
Just in Swamp Thing, like, just these grotesque, nasty... Like, they went all out in the creature in Batman.
Yeah. I liked as well, it really feels like it's really taken into, and this is going back to the whole connected universe thing, it feels like it's really taken into account where all three of these books have been just before now. Because they mention that they think Tim's dead, and that's affecting Stephanie. Batman mentions that Batwoman's doing a good job training them, because when, spoiler, and what's Cassandra Cain's name just now?
Orphan,
thank you. And, and Clayface shows up, it's like, alright, you guys have all, you're doing better, your response time's better, and Nightwing's dealing with that. And I like that one of the running themes out the two issues, especially in Nightwing's half, is that Batman's being overprotective because of what's just happened to Tim.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I like that that's like a looming thread. And he's like, no, Duke, stay in the cave. Nightwing, don't fight the monsters. You go off and do some detective work. And he's even like, but you're the detective.
Yeah.
He's like, not tonight.
Fighting monsters is like my thing. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It goes back further as well. Like the reference Zero, I think they did it once too many times, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
But the first time they referenced it, I thought, that makes sense as a callback. That was a really bad storm. This is a bad storm. It works. But it just did it maybe once too many.
Yeah, I agree. But I had fun. I thought it was a lot of fun action. Them like, diving around the monster and like try to like solve it out. Batman's got like a wing thing that he got from Steel, apparently.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But no, I had fun, and I like how it brought back in all those people who committed suicide. Like, those are the ones that have turned into the monsters, and we see like Batman talking about it as we see the security cam footage of that first guy that we seen Batman issue 1 or 2. Issue 2.
So there's a wicked web that's being woven by, I don't know who, if it's the Batman editors or if it's King and Tinian and Seeley, but man, they're tying everything because Cobra shows back up.
Yeah.
And last we saw them was a Nightwing, and then Strange had treated all of these people at some point.
And he's looking
So there's that.
hench.
Yeah, he's like, I know Bane's coming in the next arc, but I was like, is that Bane already? What's going on?
I thought it was for a second as well. He is absolutely ripped.
Yep. And what else did they tie in? I mean, they said that there's some sort of extra substance too, which I think that was new. But I took that as Venom or something along those lines.
Yeah.
It's gonna tie us into the next Batman arc. But yeah, I like how they're all tying into each other. And if you aren't reading all three, like, it's fine. You don't feel lost. But if you are reading all of them at the same time, it just brings the story together even better.
Yeah, because I think if you're not reading Detective, and you should be, but if you're not, like, it says, oh, Batwoman's training you really well. There you go. That's all you needed. Like, you're up to speed. You know what the general status quo
Well,
is.
and even the Tim Drake thing, where they're talking about it like that. If you haven't read it, I think that would be enough to make you go back and want to check out what had happened, because it's so pivotal to Batman's mind state in this.
I think it's worth noting that Nightwing is probably the least likely that someone will be picking up out of these three books, right?
Yeah, probably.
And I feel like that's the one that has the least like background connective tissue as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's the Cobra stuff, sure, but
but that was in his own book.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. There's if you weren't reading Nightwing, there's the least amount from that book in this compared to Detective and Batman.
But Cobra was in Batman first, so it's actually kind of snuck. You know, it's weaving its way through.
I mean, the Cobra guy blew up the plane that started all that off with Gotham Girl and Gotham. But then they showed back up in Nightwing, and they seem to be playing with Raptor and whatnot. So, like, it's just a good job, because from where we were at 6 months ago, where everything was compartmentalized, you didn't see a lot of crossover story threads like that.
Yeah. And
so
if crossovers going forward are going to feel like this, I think I'm quite happy about this.
Yeah. But and I will say too, I was a little bit disappointed in these, just because I think I blew it up too much. Like, I was really stoked for this, and when I went to go pick up my books, one of my friends isn't. And I was like, "What are you doing? It's Batman versus Kaiju. Like, pick up the first 2 issues, man."
Well,
so
yeah. I mean, I think they had fun with the monsters so far. We know there's at least 4 monsters, and they've beaten one. They didn't beat the one in the second issue. They were still fighting them when we got to the end, didn't we?
Yeah, I felt like
it ended with Gotham Girl going to it, didn't it?
No, that's the third monster.
Was it the third one?
Yeah. That's the one going to the caves.
Yeah, they're still fighting the second one.
It was the Cerebus 3-headed. The weird thing with the monsters is, I know they'll get the logic to it later, but, like, why are they all so different? Like, what's the design here?
Maybe there's no design.
This is Cobra and Strange,
But it's Strange just experimenting on each one, so each one's had a different, version of formula or whatever,
So, and, like, the big baby head, like, some of the monster designs are just way off.
I know, I like them. They're so crazy.
Weird.
That's the point, though. They're so weird and crazy that it's like...
Some would say strange.
Some would say strange. But I think the reason why that works is because they're supposed to be abominations. They're like an actual monster, like an actual kaiju, right, in a kaiju movie, is still something that's... It's an extension of something that's real, or it's something that's actually been designed by nature, so there's like a method to it. There's like a...
Right, there's a logic.
There's a logic to how it's designed. There's a logic, each part of it makes sense, whereas these are just complete abominations that are just mutations of whatever, so they look like absolute...
It does just feel like stuff's just grown out of them, like massive tumours that have expanded.
Yeah, tumours, that's a good word, yeah.
And so I know we'll get more of that later, but just in these first 2, I was just my brain was ticking. Like, why do they look like this? Like, this is weird.
Yeah. So to talk about the way it ends then, or the way Nightwing ends, because it's the second part, Gotham Girl hears that one's just broke out at Blackgate Prison. That's the one that Nightwing was trying to get to, but obviously he's only so fast being a human being. And Gotham Girl is like, alright, I can't let people die. I don't care if I'm still messed up. I'm flying out there, even though everyone's telling her not to. And it ends with her flying off to it. I like this.
Like a proper hero.
Like a proper hero.
Yeah, but she's already been played by Strange, Psycho Pirate, so it's like you're playing right into the hands.
But do you know what I like about this, though, is like, even though this is like a crossover, and even though we're picking up, Batman going to try and cure her, in I Am Suicide, which is the next arc, it's still fitting in here. It's still, like, advancing that in some way, because she's going to maybe do some good stuff here, but she might mess up. She might cause, like, a disaster by, going out there, But it's keeping all these things ticking over, and I'm pretty positive that whatever happens to, the detective team, whatever happens to Nightwing, that will also feed into the next arcs of those books. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's good. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of big monster fighting, bat bikes driving around them, and nets and all sorts.
Yeah, that was as the anti-Batman guy. I was just like, really, you have him stashed at the perfect spot, like. Okay, and then the Batwing thing. I was like, all right.
I think that stuff does feel a bit more Orlando than King.
Yes, and that's my whole thing is I've heard a lot of people complain about Batman that King doesn't understand Batman, and as someone that's not huge, this is the most I've liked Batman in a good long time, so I don't get that. So then when I go from King to Orlando's doing, I'm guessing a lot of the heavy lifting on this one. Batman feels more off to me than before, so
I guess it's not even that he feels off. I think it's just that he does feel a bit different to how we've been seeing him in the last couple of months.
He does. There was a couple of lines at the start where he felt a little bit off, but for me that was a character thing because of he's dealing with Tim's death. It felt like in story.
It could well be, yeah.
So, I had a lot of fun with these first two parts, so I'm looking forward to Detective next week. And remember, we've only got 3 more weeks of this, and it's done. And we have the ending, and we can move on.
That's the absolute best way to do these crossovers.
It is.